What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Canes Insight Daily podcast powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. It's the day, man. It's game day. It's been a lot, man. It's been 25 years, really, in the desert. Let's say 20. Let's say 23. Let's say 23 years in the desert. Just waiting for the opportunity to get over the hump. And look, I don't know if it's this year in terms of the playoff, which would really be getting over the hump. There's a lot of other things that need to happen. But I think there's been a mental block with this program since really, you could say 2004, 3. I mean, it was going downhill so fast at that point. But the inability to win the game you needed to win late, particularly in the cold weather, particularly in conference. This has been the biggest issue with this program for well over 2 decades. And I know there's a lot of Canes fans that are nervous, myself included, as far as, expecting this thing to happen. Obviously, I think the committee didn't expect this to happen, which is why they put Miami in so low initially, just expecting them to slip up again. Public money is hammering Pitt. It's time to shut everybody up, man. Time to answer all those questions. Step up, play your best football here on November 29th with everybody expecting you to falter and show the world that the Canes are different, man. That's really what this day is about. That's the only thing that needs to happen. The other stuff you can't really control, but the opportunity to get over that sort of mental hurdle, I think, is the key for today's game. We'll get into all the breakdown, the strengths, the weaknesses, all that. It's a big one, man. I'm nervous. Like you could tell probably my voice. I'm anxious is probably a better word than nervous, man. It's just it's an important one. So I'm fired up. I'm starting to get excited now, man, because at the end of the day, be playing these kind of meaningful games November 29th, that is what you want as a Miami Hurricane fan. It's something we miss. Usually this is coaching search season, recruiting season, portal, fire the coordinator season. So to have a real game is refreshing. Some folks that are always real. That is Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. If you or someone you care about has been injured in an accident, you could be entitled to significant compensation. Dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Take back control of your life with Anajar and Levine. CFC, good morning, boys. We got this game today. Feeling nicely about it. Good vibes here. Fart Keyhole, moment of truth. We have good vibes all offseason or will the mopes rain? Yeah, that is part of the equation. It's a lot easier in the offseason when you have a win. Truthfully, we haven't felt that in a while. Positive offseason with momentum. That's something we're waiting for. Dennis, man, appreciate you. Chipper Hanks, yep, if you're a Hurricane or a Bayou Bengal today, let's go dominate. Or Tiger, right? Just Tigers in general, because you're right, LSU and Auburn need both those guys to deliver for us, or one or the other. Blue Green Street flew into Pitt this morning, ready for war. Let me know a forecast. I know it's cold, but let's know, how it feels. Is it sunny? Is it cloudy? Windy? Let us know, Blue Green, how it's feeling out there. Mike, what's going on? Yeah, people in the comments are all fired up here. Los Mark is ready. Let's handle business. Let's make the playoffs. Make some history. It's been a long time, man. Pete's been saying it. He's not wrong about that. Coach Jenko, morning, just about to make some cafecito, man. We need some. We need some to deal with this cold weather. Shout out to Mo Hussein. Says all he wants for his birthday today is a Canes win. Let's make history. Go Canes. Appreciate your support. Happy birthday to you, Mo. Yeah, man. A lot of people in the comments appreciate everybody. So let's get into some of the matchups here. And really, we talked about this all week, but I want to make sure we talk and just sort of refresh what the football part of this game is beyond what it means. We all know what it means. Really, to me, the story of every one of our losses has been a lot of penalties. There's been other things involved, but those have been that's been the consistent pattern when it comes to Louisville and SMU. SMU in particular was really, really bad with the penalties. So we've cleaned that up a bit, not to an elite degree, or that's not Iowa right now in terms of avoiding penalties, but you've cleaned that up a bit. And this is a game where you cannot afford to be giving yards away. The other thing is going to be just sort of the feel of the offense. Pitt's a team that likes to play fast. Is this going to be a game where Miami also plays at a fast pace? You saw Miami against USF, very, very successful. SMU a little different. There's two of the teams that have that can really speed it up. Pitt's like that. They want to have a lot of possessions. They'll go 3 and out a lot just because of pass protection, but they'll also make a lot of big plays, score a lot of points. I would favor, to me, in this game, more of a high possession game and just let your quarterbacks experience. Carson Beck being much more experienced, and Heinz was a really good player. Let your quarterbacks experience and talent and your pass protection and pass rush ultimately take over the game over the course of more possessions, as opposed to slowing it down, trying to get Pitt off the game. I'd rather play Pitt's games. I think it actually favors Miami. And look, they take the ball away. They're top 10 in takeaways for a reason. They can go get the ball. SMU was one of the top takeaway teams in the country. They got you. Louisville, same. The turnovers will hurt less. Hopefully there's none. But if there are turnovers, they will hurt less when you have more possessions and more opportunities to make it right. You look at Notre Dame against Notre Dame against Pitt. Notre Dame turned it over multiple times. Carr threw 2 terrible picks that went the other way. Notre Dame was still able to handle Pitt and really get after them because of their superiority up front on a consistent basis. So I think I don't mind playing Pitt's game in this scenario. Sometimes you don't want to play the other team's game. With Pitt, I think we do, to a degree, want to play their game because I think we'd be better at it. That works against less talented teams than the Miami Hurricanes. Mentioned the turnovers. Obviously, look, Louisville was a turnover loss. When you have 4, that's tough to overcome. And that was at home. This is on the road. So you got to limit the turnovers. But I do think, look, if a turnover happens, it's how quickly do you turn the page and move on, because this Pittsburgh defense is very aggressive. They rally to the ball. They can tackle. They're going to bring 6 at times on passing downs. And just when they feel the opportunity, they will bring extreme pressure. And they're going to try to stop the run. They're going to be flying forward. It's going to be a run-first operation when it comes to the defense and stopping the run, challenging your quarterback to beat you outside. So you gotta make them pay. You got to make them pay when they play like that, man. FSU is an example of a game where I thought that was the challenge that FSU laid down to Miami, and Miami responded. Carson Beck hit some huge plays down the field. So, we'll see if Miami can get that going. Miami obviously has to stop Pitt's running game. Pitt's running game is one of the worst in the country statistically. They had a huge game against Georgia Tech, which is amazing. Georgia Tech, that defense looked as bad as I've seen against NC State and against Pitt. And you see them against Georgia, and they look great. So, who knows? But I do think Pitt's running game is what the numbers say it is in the hundreds, well under 4 yards a carry. I believe it's 3.5 last I checked. So you got to limit the running game. Desmond Reed, the star all-purpose back, returner, receiver out of the backfield, running back from Miramar, he says he's back. He's going to give it a go. Very dynamic, athletic player when healthy, but he's small. That's why he went to West Carolina before going to Pitt. I've always been a fan, but the guy's small. So I think with both Pitt backs, including Jacarian Turner, number 25, who had a big day, 200 plus against Georgia Tech, you got to hit him. They got to feel you. Even if they're going to make a play or two, but when you do get to them, gang tackling, use your size, lean on, and make them feel you. Yeah, it's cold, but it's going to be very painful for those small backs dealing with bigger players, crunching them in that cold weather. AU Kane, the vet, arguably biggest game of Mario's career. Let's go Canes and keep up the great work on the channel. DMP, appreciate you. AU, yeah, I think this is as big as it gets for Mario. Oh, here's Saban just said if Miami gets in, they'll be the most dangerous team in the field. What can I say? That's right. What did Reese Davis say? They said we underachieved by losing those 2 games. A lot of teams lost 2 games. They're talking about 3 lost teams going to the playoffs. Miami didn't underachieve against Florida, beating them 26-7 when Texas got their butts kicked. But yeah, I'm not watching game day, so let me know what these guys say. Kyle's saying not the biggest game in his career. I think it is, man. This is his dream job. This is his final job, and if it goes the way he wants it to go, you're in year 4, right? You have an opportunity to really cement this program as a certain standard, a certain level, and you have a better team, right? I think everybody in the country would trade Pitt's team for Miami with everything equal. So got to get it done, man. You got to get it done. So in terms of the matchups, again, you got to stop the running game. It's a matchup you got to win, but also outside, you got to win those matchups when they're there. Malachi Tony, you got to think he's going to be the first priority for them to stop. So whether it's Josh Moore, JoJo Trader, CJ Daniels getting healthy, Keelan Marion, who I should probably mention right at the top because he's been the most consistent guy the last month. Dalen Upshaw, whoever gets that opportunity needs to make the play because it's going to be there. They're going to challenge those guys to make plays. Gang. Saban said when you look at Carson Beck, the O-line, the defense, Miami's the talent to beat anyone. No question about that. Also getting healthy at the right time, which is good to see. If you want to recover your game, consider yourself an athlete, an active person, talk to UHealth Sports, University of Miami Sports Medicine Institute. If you sat out the Turkey Bowl because you were hurting or you're just not feeling as good as you want and you don't want to compromise your recovery, you want to come back full speed, 100%, best you can be, contact the experts at the University of Miami Sports Medicine Institute, whether it's elite athletics like you're going to see here in a couple hours at noon with the Miami Hurricanes or just everyday movement. The Miami Hurricanes and the University of Miami Health Systems, the University of Miami Sports Medicine Institute will get you back and help you recover your game. Go to you go to umiamihealth.org or uhealthsports.com to get your appointment today. All right, what we got going on here? Let's see. Lofton, big game for him. I agree. He's playing better now. We got to show more what we saw in the spring, what we saw last year. This is the opportunity for Lofton to rewrite the narrative a little bit. Let's see. We got a lot of comments on Saban. This is let's see. Kyle says, how is this the biggest game to you if we win maybe in the Pop-Tarts Bowl? Because it's about consistency. It's about establishing who you are as a program. We can't control, whether Auburn beats Alabama or LSU beats Oklahoma, or if the committee doesn't reward a head-to-head victory over Notre Dame. But you can control beating Notre Dame. You can control finishing strong when everybody in the country expects you to fold. So I think it's about the perception of the program, the consistency of the program, back-to-back 10-win seasons. Now you're a consistent program. I think we've shown talent-wise that we can, obtain anybody from a talent acquisition standpoint, and that you are able to play head-to-head with anybody in the country, especially if Notre Dame's even half as good as what they should be. This is the thing that bothers me the most, eternal rivals saying. We talked about the eyeball test. Head-to-head should matter the most. I saw Miami beat Notre Dame. That's the only eyeball test you need. Yeah, not only did you see Notre Dame lose to Miami, you saw Miami beat them up. I mean, you saw their tackles get completely humiliated. Those are the same guys that are starting now, and they got, bent over, for lack of a better word. They were just completely dominated. So to say that it's an eye test, well, Miami, with the eye test, when they played and you had both teams on the same field to evaluate, weren't just the winning team. They were the significantly better team, the more physical team. Jeremiah Love did absolutely nothing. Jadarian Price did barely anything. The running game got completely stuffed. Good players. Not saying that they were less than advertised. I'm saying that Miami stuffed them because they were physically superior up front. So, the passing game, which was effective against Notre Dame, has gotten better for Miami since then. CJ Carr's obviously matured, but CJ Carr was not the one holding them back. He was the best player in the game for him. What held them back is that they were physically beat up. And again, getting to Kyle's question initially, being able to compete with Notre Dame head-to-head, this is an evolution of the program. Finishing strong in the cold, evolution of the program. First part we saw. The second part is what we need to see here. Yeah, there's AU Kane. Back-to-back 10-win years, and we're arguably more talented than last year's team. I'd argue why this game's bigger than last year, Cuse. Yeah, and look, there's not Cam Ward carrying the team. This is something that is, you could say, is sustainable. I thought it was sustainable last year, but of course, lose the number one pick, you got to see it. But what you saw last year was a collapse in this exact spot. It wasn't as cold, it was in a dome, but same kind of spot. So I know a lot of Canes fans have Syracuse game on their mind. A lot of national media people have that on their mind. It is hard to ignore when it's happened so many times. You got to get over the hump. You got to rewrite the narrative, as Canes Gang says. Martin Quinn says the stadium is currently 31 degrees, sunny, and winds at 3 miles per hour. Yeah, my buddy, you all know Mike Ryan. He sent me a picture. It looked pretty sunny, blue skies. I'll take that any day of the week. It's a little overcast in Miami, at least where I'm at here, but it's always sunny when you get into Duffy's Tavern. Look at the new beautiful site. You're looking for a place to watch all the games, let's just say Miami beating Pitt, playing well, rewriting the narrative, and then want to see all the other games, some of which have huge implications for Miami's playoffs and ACC. Go to Duffy's Tavern right there at the heart of Dade County, western part of Coral Gables, and it is a institution, 60 plus years, now accepting credit cards after 60 plus years. Don't talk about rewriting the narrative. Duffy's keeping that old school flavor. I love the chandelier with the liquor bottles. Keeping that old school flavor, that neighborhood feel, while also coming into the 21st century, taking credit cards, upgrading the menu while keeping so many classics. It is the absolute spot. Look at that. There it is right there. This is institution. You see all the great comments, but you ask anybody, they'll tell you Duffy's Tavern, not Duffy's Sports Grill, the chain. This is the real deal, authentic Duffy's Tavern right at the edge of Coral Gables, the home of the Hurricanes. Kirk knows the Holy Grail. Hopefully adding some new pictures from today's celebrations. A lot of victory celebration pictures there at Duffy's Tavern. Would like one from today. Tilo saying OL and DL should dominate this game. Dominate would be good. Yeah, I think certainly if you look at the stats, Pitt's pass rush is middle of the pack. They are going to blitz a lot, though, and their blitzes can cause problems. They're extremely good at stopping the run, and I don't think that's a physicality thing, although they're tough and they'll tackle and they'll run to the ball like no one else. But they're not big, and they're not overly athletic and disruptive relative to some of the other Pitt teams we've seen, like Aaron Donald and those kind of guys. But what they do is, like, they run to the football and they'll devote numbers to the running game. Plus, those safeties are look and run first. They are flying downhill. So it's going to be hard to just push Pitt around, at least early, when it comes to running the ball. Pass rush, they're formidable, but I wouldn't say they're, the top three pass rushes that Miami's faced this year. Between, Notre Dame, UF, and FSU, they can get after it a little more than Pitt could. Just bigger players, bigger body types. So Miami's pass blocking held up beautifully in those games. I'd expect the same, although at some point, the quarterback has to beat the blitz when you bring enough numbers. I do think Fletcher in the pass protection is going to be a big player here. Also, you can hit them with screens. You can leak out the running back at the tight end. There's a lot of things you can do when they're being so aggressive. Defensive line, though, Pitt's been really struggling pass protecting. Georgia Tech got to the quarterback a ton of times. I believe they had 5 sacks in that game. With the pass rush, it's not Ruben Bain and Messidor. I think Pitt's going to have to scheme against Miami's defensive line and their pass rush as well as they can. If you take away the run, you really limit their options. So I think stopping the run will allow Miami's defensive line to have advantageous opportunities in the passing game, and they'll do their thing. I would like to see us blitz the nickel and just blitz DBs in general. Watching Pitt's offensive line, really their quarterback Heinzel, he's very instinctive, very decisive, has good short area quickness, reminds me of CJ Carr, but where he struggles is, he can run around when the defensive line's chasing him and create a play and then find somebody and make a throw, or at least get an incomplete. But when the defensive backs are chasing him, he's not going to outrun those guys. He's not going to make those guys pay with his own running game most of the time. And he's not the strongest guy to shake him off like you saw with Virginia Tech and Kyron Drone. So I think bringing some fast guys after him would make a lot of sense. And look, they got to account for Bain. The defensive tackles are probably going to be blowing stuff up like they did last week. So there will be opportunities to really take advantage with the blitz. Brandon Van Exetic, man, we need another playmaker other than Tony to step up today. I'm buying Dalen Upshaw stock. Give me the young Bama kid to make some big plays today. Great catch last week in a big moment. We've seen him screen. We've seen him, make contested catches. We haven't seen him just run by guys downfield. I've seen it in practice. He can do it. He's not a 4.4 runner. I mean, he might be in the 4.4. He's not a 4.3 track star, but he's not slow at all. He can get downhill and he can get downfield. And he's got very, very sudden movements in his cuts. I think Upshaw can beat man coverage and get downfield. He's younger, so there's some physicality stuff where beating veterans in man coverage in a big game in the cold, you got to see it. But he can do it. Certainly, C.J. Daniels can do it as well. I wouldn't be surprised to see C.J. Daniels. He can make plays downfield, as we saw. I want to say Florida State. He made a big play downfield. Certainly, and a big play in the screen game. He can get there and win downfield if he has those opportunities, if you're so worried about Tony. Chris Gon says, we're the bigger, more physical team. We should wear on Pitt, plus with our talent roster should take over. That's why I think more possessions helps us in this game. The way Pitt plays, I think, actually fits our strengths and helps us, as crazy as that sounds, just because their style is not meant to beat a more physically superior team, as you saw when they played Notre Dame, and they struggled in that one. Chipper Hank says, Bain and Messidor got to contain. Flushing this kid out the pocket, especially in man coverage, could get us gashed. No, I agree. But look, the good thing is you got some very, very powerful defensive ends with size that they can, even just, maintaining, maintaining the rushing lane without getting greedy. They're trying to compress Heinkel. They have the power and knockback that they can really cause Heinkel problems. It's not like just like a timid contain. I mean, this is going to be pocket compressing, as you saw against CJ Carr, while also removing his lanes to get outside. So I think we have the guys to play that style because of the size of the defensive ends. But you're right, they got to be disciplined. And 860 Kane says you got to earn the right to rush the passer. These ends get for 7 yards of field creating running lanes. Yes, but look, I mean, we've stopped the run at a pretty high level. I thought last game was our worst game against the run. They'll be challenged to do better this week. Virginia Tech is a much better running team statistically than Pitt. Virginia Tech in the top 25, top 20 in most categories. Pitt, in the hundreds, like 113 range in a lot of categories. So different kinds of running game. Pitt's quarterback, more dynamic throwing the ball and better receivers for Pitt. So they do different things well. But I think, you got to stop the running game and you got to make these running backs feel you. They're small. You got to run to the football. You got to really, nothing dirty, but those, when you're 180 pounds in a cold weather game against a more physical front, you got to make those running backs feel you. You got to beat them up a little bit. Again, no injuries, but certainly some punishment. So they are taken out of the game, and then Pitt becomes a one-dimensional operation. You saw Notre Dame do that. Pitt did not run on them at all. So that's something to consider here. Let me pull up actually the stats of that game, because I think this is what you're looking for if you're Miami when it comes to the running game. So Pitt running against Notre Dame, 70 yards rushing, 2.8 yards a carry. I think that's a goal if you're Miami. We saw Notre Dame's rush defense against Miami's rush defense. I thought Miami's rush defense was much superior to Notre Dame's when they were on the same field. Obviously, you saw Miami's take out Jeremiah Love and Price, who are exceptional backs. Miami was able to run the ball when they needed to. In the game against Notre Dame, they outrushed them as a team. Even though CJ Carr hurt you with a couple runs, the running backs for Miami outperformed Notre Dame's running back. So you need that kind of performance from not just the running game for Miami, but the run defense. You want to match at least what Notre Dame did, 70 yards rushing against Pitt, or for Pitt against Notre Dame, 2.8 yards per rush. I'll take that all day. I think the sacks will take care of themselves if you get them in those down and distances. Howard Stern said this game has Mark Fletcher written all over it. Yeah, I agree. Pass blocking, the physicality in the run and the cold, but I think pass blocking in particular, his size and his intelligence there are going to help. Let's see here. Canes fan Brandon says, you predicted it last week, so let's do it again. Player of the game today. I hope it's Carson Beck, because I think he's really on a nice hot streak and we need him to finish. And I think he's going to play well today. I have a lot of faith in Carson Beck, and I think he could easily be the player of the game. But something tells me Ruben Bain gets his name back. He hasn't had a lot of sacks. This is a key moment in the season. Obviously, I could see him just really, really hunting and hopefully not hunting in terms of getting outside the, what he's supposed to do in the framework of the defense, but just really dominating his matchup. And then the big plays finding him with his effort, like the interception that he had against Notre Dame, just effort, physical dominance, and the big plays will come to him. So that's what I could see. The Juice says Bryce Fitzgerald with a pick and a fumble recovery. Bryce Fitzgerald, I believe, it was heartbreaking to see. You saw him. He was wearing number 13. He is number 13. DeAndre Johnson, who passed away last week, was also number 13, and he posted a pic of both of them. Apparently, there's some sort of relationship. I don't know if it's family or friend, but they're from the southern part of Miami-Dade County, so I'm sure there's some sort of relationship there. But yeah, tough to see. Anytime a young guy like that is no longer with us, it's just a tragedy. But it was cool to see the tribute from Bryce Fitzgerald, and you hope he's able to get that opportunity to honor him with his play and they're on the field. So when you see Bryce Fitzgerald pointing up, that may be what he's referring to. Let's see. E2 40-13. I'll take that. Bearded Kane says stats and gameplay is important, but this game needs more Alblade Senior in it. 3 things. Yeah, eat, stick, and the rest. But it's hit, stick. Yeah, I said eat. you got to eat too. Yeah, hit stick and the rest. But I think Miami has emotional leaders like an Al Blades. I think certainly with his play, Jacoby Thomas is that kind of guy. So we got some physical players on defense I think are going to bring the tempo. I think that's going to be a consistent thing throughout this game. I don't think the physicality is going to wane. Maybe it will, but I don't think so. I don't think that's how this team and this staff and the whole operation is or has been this year. Even in the games they play poorly, I think they've been pretty physical consistently. Ryan Donnelly says Pitt knows they're overmatched in the trenches. They're going to try to take advantage of our backers. If our backers and DBs can play with physicality and tackle in space, we win by 3 scores. No doubt they probably will do that. And again, if you're really struggling with that, you don't need to have all your size up there to stop Pitt's running game. Pitt's running game is small. So you can get those guys on the ground. Johnny Lagoon says stop Pitt or stop Reed and the other running back, Jakarian Turner, and Carson plays clean and the game goes well. We got this. Yeah, I think penalties. I can't stress that enough. Penalties. We all know that the refs have been pretty poor recently. I don't know if they'd be biased or they're just incompetent. I lean more towards incompetent, but it's hurting Miami more than other teams. But yeah, you can't put the game in the refs' hands. Can't give them any with these pre-snap penalties. Those haven't been bad calls. Those have been just self-inflicted errors. You can bake in some bad calls as long as you're not giving them away with those pre-snap errors. By the way, so look, it's 10:20. We're going to be here for a few more minutes here. But it's going to feel like a long time till the game, I'm sure. Pass the time. Get your mind off by giving your free time a raise with KashKick, KashKick. Go to the App Store and download the KashKick app. Over 1.5 million plus downloads, 4.5 plus average rating, and give your free time a raise. You're already gaming, you're browsing, you're sharing your opinions. What if that time earned you real money? Yeah, while you're doing your surveys, browsing, playing games with the KashKick app and all the different ways to earn, you are making money on the side. You're getting money into your account through PayPal. It's totally legit. Again, 1.5 million plus downloads. You guys, I know you kill time on your phone. We all do. That's part of life. Get paid for it. Make it more productive. Give your free time a raise. KashKick, KashKick. Juice is fired up, as am I. What we got here? Lido says, happy victory Sunday. I love it. Or happy victory Saturday. I love it. Let's go Canes. It'll be a fun Saturday if the Canes win. All the games will look a little more fun to watch. Johnny Lagoon says, the ACC needs to let the rest know the only way they're relevant is if Miami gets to the playoffs. I just want them to call it clean, man. I just want them to call it clean. Don't make mistakes. And then from my standpoint, don't give it away with pre-snap. Bullet Tooth. Ken says, don't let our athleticism beat out our technique. Play our game. Yeah, listen. I think that's the right approach. Play your game. They're going to do what they do, but you are the better team. If you don't kill yourself with penalties, don't kill yourself with unnecessary turnovers. The aggressive team, they're going to try to strip the ball. You got 2 hands on it. You're going to be all right. And look, if a turnover happens, a mistake happens, don't try to make it up on the next series. Just put it behind you, play the game. I think Miami has the better team, and they don't need to be anything but themselves. But look, their identity lately has also included, the trick plays, the Malachi Tonys. That's part of their identity now. So I don't think you need to be vanilla necessarily by being yourself. I just think you need to focus on executing your plays. I'm saying coach speak, but it's the truth, man. I mean, it's big to us because we're fans, but for the players, it's got to be another day in the office. They're the better team. They've been working hard. They don't need to get out of character to win. Johnny Lagoon says, D, can you talk about the Gators coaching search? Looks like it's going to be Brom, Fish, or Sumrall. It sounds like Sumrall from everything I'm hearing. I'm not totally plugged in there, but just people that I know have been saying Sumrall. I would go with Brom if I was them, but Sumrall has done a good job where he's been. Certainly the parallels to Billy Napier are huge. If you're a Gator fan, you're feeling like a second fiddle because you thought you were the biggest brand in town, and now you're really struggling to get your targets. It can't be good for the old ego. Also, Sumrall, very similar resume profile to Billy Napier. I'm sure they're different people, but you thought you were getting Lane, the old Spurrier kind of swagger, and then you're getting basically a very similar guy to Sumrall, or with Sumrall, similar to Napier. So Gator tears are flowing. We got the Gator tears thread. Let me see what's latest on the Gator tears thread on CanesInsight.com. 7.6 million posts and counting overall on Canes Insight. But when you go to that Gator Tiers thread, 11 million views, 88,000 posts in that thread alone. So this is by far the most popular thread on Canes Insight. Let's see what the Gators are crying about now. Let's go to the latest page. Here we go. They're mad at Gary Condren, their biggest booster. I was studying this drama this morning. The rumor is that Gary Condren basically didn't want Lane, didn't want Lincoln Riley, and he really wanted Summerall the whole time. So again, this is the Gator internal booster drama, is that Condren forced his buddy Strickland, who's the AD, to put a deadline on Lane Kiffin's acceptance before the Egg Bowl tips off and it kicks off. And Kiffin did not accept the job. So that's why you saw those stories break that Kiffin wasn't going to go to the Gators. It was just because they had given them an artificial deadline. And now all the Gator fans are blaming this big booster, Condren, and of course the AD, who's his buddy, is Strickland, and saying that Condren just kind of bullied his preferred candidate, which was Summerall, into the job. And this guy's posting on board, so you know he's not like a mystery man. And there's a space where I guess a smaller Gator booster kind of told the story about the deadline, and Gator Nation went insane. And the poor boosters, he made a post on this Gator board saying how sorry he was that he thought when he was on the space, it was just a conference call with his nephews. He didn't know it was being recorded and put to the whole nation. So tough stuff for the Gators, man. Their boosters are fighting. Apparently, there was also some sort of like comment by Condren that hinted that he didn't really want Kiffin, and that he hopes Kiffin didn't accept the job, and that he wanted Summerall the whole time. And then when Kiffin saw that, he's like, how do I even know you want to contribute to NIL if your top booster saying he doesn't want me? And who knows? That's all the drama, though. And as you can see, they're already making candid messages to their top boosters. It's a civil war for the Gators. But again, this thread is nonstop. You want to hear the latest of Gator Tiers, all their posts and tweets crying about losses and recruiting losses and then coach losses. This is the place to do it. 88,000 posts and then 11 million views. Insane, man. Oh, look, now they want to go in the ACC. Yeah, apparently Condren made a post on one of these boards saying he hated Lincoln Riley, so they're blaming him for them not going after Lincoln Riley. It's a mess over there in Gainesville. But let's focus on what matters. Winning big today. Meaningful games in November. That's what it's all about. Winning those games is what it's really all about. Yeah, shout out to my man right there. Big Mr. Altieri, the producer of the year. Look at those shades. Yeah. So, by the way, I got to give a shout out to my guy, Dr. Torres. Ran into him at the gym this morning. Dr. Torres, man, appreciate you. Let's win this one. We'll celebrate afterwards. We can get this one done. But yeah, great to see you. Go Canes. What else we got going on here? Canes Gang says Lane is gone. Is he gone from Ole Miss? Did he already announce, or is that just gone from UF? He's definitely gone from UF. That's for sure. James Kane says, need UF to win today so they can keep FSU from making a bowl game. Yeah, you know what? That's my rule of thumb with UF FSU games is I always cheer for the team that's worse. So UF right now is worse than FSU. So I'm a UF fan today in that game. The worst team. You always want the worst team to win because then the team that's better suffers more. And the team that's worse probably already wants to fire their coach anyways, or has fired their coach. They don't really care. So always want the worst team to win in the UF-FSU rivalry. Or UF-FSU rivalry. That's kind of my feeling. Furman says, give me some picks. You know, picking with my heart lately because I'm just picking for all the teams that could help Miami. It's hard to separate the heart from the head when all these results impact Miami. I do think Auburn's going to play well against Alabama, but, you know, I thought you had Mississippi State putting up a better fight against Ole Miss than they did. True freshman quarterback, that makes it tough. But I don't know. I can't even give the picks, man, because I'm going to go with my heart on all of them. I'm cheering for every Tiger team, cheering for all the upsets in the top 10 and in the ACC. T-Love. Number of direct snaps for Malachi today. I'm setting the over at 4.5. D thoughts. Yeah, I like that line. I hope it's over. you want to have the ball in Carson Beck's hands a lot, but Malley, he just is such a good decision maker that you don't lose that quarterback level decision making when he's out there. So I want him out there. He can run. He can throw, obviously. He's going to give Pitt some problems. They're so aggressive. I mean, I trust Malley to deal with them. The Arena, appreciate your support. Last ride, boys. Finish strong. Last ride of the season. Well, last ride of the regular season. This is hopefully going to be a long, long ride, both into the postseason and the offseason. You know how it goes, but certainly with the postseason first. Heatherman says, yeah, bully season for Justin Scott and Moden. They turned it up in November. They've been outstanding. So let's see here. Nico Jones says, only way to get respect from the committee and nation, put up consecutive 10-win seasons. Go Canes. Yeah, we got to be a real team. And yeah, go Vols. Take care of Vanderbilt. Get them out of the picture. Especially now they're trying to lie on Texas. I don't think Texas will jump us. I saw people asking me that. I don't see Texas jumping us at all. I'm not particularly worried about that one. I'm much more worried about Miami, obviously, doing their part and then just getting Oklahoma or Alabama out of there. You want to get some flowers in there, some plants in there, and get your landscaping where it needs to be. Talk to OrchidMan, ORCHID Man. Top landscape artisans in South Florida, from Palm Beach all the way down to the Florida Keys. 786-271-0332. If you live down south, up north, wherever, anywhere in South Florida, you've seen these OM trucks all over the nice landscapes in the city, in the region, because you see them in Broward too. Whether it's commercial property, residential property, you want it to look great, and you want to make sure all the details and all the maintenance, someone's thinking about it, because you got too much to think about yourself to have landscape warriors. You need someone in charge making the right decisions or putting the right decisions in front of you. That's what OrchidMan Florida is going to do. They're going to be your quarterback for the whole operation. Sprinkler repair, irrigation, rain gutters, hurricane prep, lighting, maintenance, tree trimming, you name it, fertilizing. They will take care of it. OrchidMan Florida, ORCHID manflorida.com for your landscaping needs. Dwayne Johnson says, I need Moden to take out the QB like last week. Yeah, man, he was on fire last week. And Justin Scott, man, they can keep up that play. It's going to be hard for Heinschel to survive. Texas A&M, they'll be dropping. Yeah, they'll still be ahead of us. They only have one loss, so you got to put them ahead of us, even though their schedule's been a little lighter. They did have the big win against Notre Dame. I think Texas A&M deserves their ranking. They've played an easy SEC schedule, but you beat Notre Dame on the road, you deserve to be up. Kangam reporting that Marty Smith on game day said that Kiffin plans to call Saban and Pete Carroll for advice on decision. Hoping he already talked to people. I mean, it's going to be a quick decision for him. Trife the Kid asked, do you think when the pressure's on, are they really going to ignore head-to-head and put Notre Dame over us? I don't think so. That would set a terrible precedent in college football. That's what I'm saying. If you finish strong, play well, win, put that decision in front of them. Because it's one thing to make that decision hypothetically when Miami's not playing well. But when Miami's playing well and the resume is done, it becomes a much tougher decision to make. So that's what I think it comes down to, is put the resume in front of the committee that they can't ignore. And if they do ignore, they do it at their own peril. They'll look like maniacs. So just keep winning, keep doing it. Just take care of business today. That's the bottom line. That's all you can do. Finish strong, play well. I don't even care about style points. Play the best game you can play. Let the ball falls where it does. I think Miami, if they play well, there'll be style points associated with that because they're a talented team. So play well, and the rest will take care of itself. Just focus on. Look, we're watching the game. It doesn't matter what we think or say, but you hope that the team's just focusing on what they need to do. I've heard nothing but good things out the building. All that playoff stuff really doesn't matter if we don't play well here on Saturday in about an hour and 30 minutes, man. I'm fired up. Starting to get a little butterflies here, a little anxious, but man, it's exciting. And yeah, D. Nick says it again. This is Cristobal's biggest game as Miami Hurricane coaching career. I agree. This is a huge narrative game, regardless of what happens with the playoff. Over 1,000 on, man. Like and subscribe to the show. Appreciate everybody's support. Chris Gons, beat Pitt 10-2, go 10-14-2 in the playoffs. There it is, baby. Finish at home with a game at Hard Rock, January 19th. Like Saban says, no one wants to see us in the playoffs. Hopefully the committee does, though. Bush says, I'm with you. Getting fired up. Let's do this thing. Yeah, man, I'm excited. Got to go run a couple laps here. Calm down. Tila says, nice to be relevant in week 13. I agree. Even nicer to be relevant in week 14. So let's hope Miami can make that a thing. I agree with Kane Gang here. We need a good start. I mean, you always want a good start, but I just think with the type of offense Miami has, where it's not like they know they can wake up, roll out of bed, and score 40 like last year. I think you do need a good start. Last year, that offense was so good. If they had a bad start, you kind of said, all right, well, they're going to heat up. With this team, you really want to see them start strong and get the thing rolling. I think the defense is going to be there. Howard Stern says, if SMU makes the conference championship, total slap in the face tomorrow as a head coach. And Morrow's worried about winning today, winning that 10th game, and then winning in the playoffs. SMU's done a good job. I think what SMU's done that Miami has not been able to do is figure out how to win consistently in conference. SMU's done a great job of that. Out of conference, I think SMU's a lot more outmatched than Miami. Miami's represented the ACC much better out of conference than SMU. SMU struggled against even the Big 12 this year, which is not a very good conference, certainly against Penn State in the playoffs. But in conference, SMU's know what they need to do. So I think there's lessons to be learned when you go back and look at this season. Hopefully, only 2 ACC losses, not 3. But when you say, okay, well, why are we consistently slipping up in conference while SMU, who's not as good as us outside of conference, is being consistent in conference? So those are questions you got to ask. I think their style of play maybe lends itself more to ACC style defenses. And just saying, hey, there's not a lot of talent in this conference relative to others, so more possession is going to help us as a talented team with a unique scheme. So maybe that's the future. Just we got to run some more plays in conference. The way we beat Notre Dame is not necessarily the way you might beat a SMU or a Pitt or a Louisville. Although with Louisville, certainly that was a turnover game. Nico's guys, his game day drink, apple cider old fashioned. Reduce apple cider on the stove to a syrup consistency. Man, look at this. Got the whole recipe here. Shout out to Nico, taking care of you guys on game day. Jay Campbell says 128th in the country in time between plays never helps the more talented team. Look, I don't think all the if you look at the pace of play rankings, I don't think all the best teams are on the top and all the worst teams are on the bottom. I think a lot of talented teams do play slower. I think it's about just understanding when and where. And I think we're learning more that the ACC, I think tempo helps us. Look at the year we had last year. We did very well in the ACC. Certainly with that COVID year, Miami did pretty good in the ACC, ultimately losing to North Carolina, which was a tough one. But before that, they played some good ball. Any update on Blay? I think Blay will be all right. I don't know for sure. Injuries are tricky, but I do think Blay will be all right. I think either way, we're going to have a big advantage at defensive tackle. By the way, I know yesterday was a big shopping day, Black Friday. That's going to continue all the way through Cyber Monday at the Miami Hurricane Team Store, MiamiHTS.com. Sign up today at Miami HTS. You can sign up to win a Malachi Tony and CJ Daniels signed helmet. But just anything you buy there, you're going to get 30% off through Cyber Monday. That's in store right next to the Thesis Hotel or online at MiamiHTS.com. 30% off site-wide exclusion supply. And if you want to sign up for the newsletter, again, you get up to date and all the new releases, all that, and you get in the running to win a CJ Daniels Malachi Tony helmet. So a lot of options, a lot of deals available. And of course, the most direct official gear, Miami Hurricane Team Store, MiamiHTS.com. All right, folks. Let's hug your loved ones, get your mind right, get your energy right. It's going to be a huge game, and I think we're going to be celebrating here today. I think the Miami Hurricanes finally get it done. I'm predicting them to win. I believe it. The cynical part of my brain says we're going to choke against an ACC opponent like we always do, in the cold like we always do, in November like we always do, when everybody expects us to win like we always do. But the only way to change that narrative is by getting it done. I think Miami gets that narrative changed today with a strong performance by Carson Beck, Malachi Tony, Mark Fletcher, CJ Daniels, Ruben Bain, the whole D-line, the whole defensive backfield, Bryce Fitzgerald. This is going to be the game. They turn it around, get that win, go 10-2, back-to-back 10-win seasons. Everything you need to do right in front of you. Can't control a playoff. You can control being a relevant, respected team. And I think that starts today with Miami taking care of business at noon. Appreciate everybody joining us. Like and subscribe. Go Canes.